Venezuela's United Socialist Party during its fifth Congress ratified President Nicolas Maduro as candidate for the July 28th presidential elections. Israel and Hamas ready to launch a new attempt to reach agreements on Sunday in Doha, while the whole world demands an urgent ceasefire. In Russia, citizens go to the polls on the third and last day of presidential elections. High turnout and no violence on the streets have marked the whole electoral process. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela on Saturday, Socialist Party Vice President Diosdado Cabello announced President Nicolas Maduro as the party's candidate for the upcoming July presidential elections. At a rally held at the Caracas Polyhedron, Cabello said that all of the over 4 million party militants nominated the incumbent president after holding close to 320,000 meetings at grassroots level. Cabello exalted President Maduro's ability to foster peace and unity in Venezuela through political means, defeating oligarchs by simply setting an example, opening up party membership to all social movements, and bringing all sectors of society together through constant dialogue. Cabello said the president has implemented a sort of collective-style leadership.
So everybody here that is agree postulated our citizen Nicolás Maduro Moros as candidate of the Social Party of Venezuela and the Bolivarian Revolution for the 2024 elections. Great presence. President Nicolás Maduro, it is your party, the party of Commander Chavez. And this party that has its own mechanism is established. So we have a candidate, Nicolás Maduro.
On the other hand, Diosdado Cabello emphasized President Maduro's ability to reach economic and social achievements in the midst of numerous sanctions designed to strangle the nation.
And in the middle of these sanctions, the blockade, persecution, we have been able to establish a complex, a very open and complex program of economic recovery without help, only with soul, spirit, and the people's will. So with great decisions, assertive decisions, this commander with his authentic leadership, which is a great support for any country. He impulses a sovereign policy with diplomacy of peace.
For his part, the Venezuelan president assumed the candidacy and reiterated his commitment to the Bolivarian people and to the legacy of Commander Hugo Chavez.
Someone asked me, what is Chavismo? Chavismo is a family full of love for the homeland, for the Bolivarian movement of the 21st century, which is all along with its ideals of every generation. So this is what we is. Love for our story, for our history. But only a man wouldn't be here. I'm here because of you. For your strength, for your wisdom. I'm here for the people. And that is why that today, March 16 of this year, 2024, I accept the presidential candidacy for the next election in June. I assume it. And with the support of the people, we will go to a new victory of the Bolivarian forces and Chavez.
The Venezuelan leader also reiterated that his candidacy represents an entire people.
Chavez is the people. Chavez is everything. And I say that it's not Maduro. Don't confuse. Don't underestimate us anymore. Because this is not just one-man task. Here the candidate is not Maduro. Here the candidate is the people, is the worker, the people of the municipalities, the neighborhoods. And with all these people, we go to the battle, we go to the victory.
In Mexico, regional authorities have reported the assassination of Humberto Amezca, mayor of the municipality of Pihuamo in the state of Jalisco. Amezca was shot to death inside his car on Saturday morning. Laura Jarro, currently running for governor, said that Amezcua had received threats on his life over the last few weeks. Governor Enrique Alfaro said the police has already opened an investigation to clarify the reasons behind this crime and whoever is responsible for it, and said he is fully committed to solving this murder. In Ecuador, the truckers' union denounced the increase in insecurity on the highways in the midst of the state of exception and internal armed conflict against organized crime in force in the country. Leaders of Ecuador's Heavy Transport Confederation denounced at least 10 cases of vehicle theft in the last week. They also warned that although crimes against carriers increased by at least 70% after the state of emergency was declared, extortions and kidnappings have increased on the highways in the last few days. Therefore, they requested a meeting with Monica Palencia, government minister, to deal with this problem and guarantee them greater security. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. Israel and Hamas prepare to launch a new attempt to reach agreements on Sunday in Doha, Qatar. The whole world demands an urgent ceasefire. Before leaving, only 5 members of the Security Cabinet met in Tel Aviv. The national media speculated that the Hamas proposal was on the table. The Doha meeting also had as an input the document of the Palestinian resistance. It contemplates the handing over of hostages in exchange for 100 Palestinian hostages, some of them sentenced to life imprisonment, as well as a ceasefire in 3 phases. The Israeli delegation, led by the head of Mossad intelligence, David Bernia, starts with a pessimistic outlook because they consider the Hamas proposal unrealistic. Large demonstrations took place worldwide for a ceasefire in Gaza and the right of the Palestinian people to freedom, while the genocidal Israeli army killed 92 people, almost all of them women and children, in less than 24 hours. In addition to the deadly toll, Palestinian authorities registered 130 wounded. Israeli fighter planes bombed Khan Yunis and Rafah overnight. Almost simultaneously, occupation forces blew up a house in West Gaza and another in Deir al-Balah. This latest onslaught brings the death toll to 31,645 and the number of wounded to over 73,600, according to official figures endorsed by the World Health Organization. On Saturday, Israel approved a plan to carry out a land invasion in the city of Rafah. In this sense, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu authorized the plans of action in Rafah, and the occupation army is preparing to expel around 1.5 million Palestinian refugees. With this action, Netanyahu rejected the proposal of a permanent ceasefire made by the Palestinian resistance, which also demands the end of the Israeli siege against Gaza. In this regard, Israeli Prime Minister alleged that Hamas demands are unrealistic and that it is not possible to negotiate the release of prisoners. The announcement came after Qatari mediators sent him a proposal for Hamas, insisting on the urgency of a ceasefire and the exchange of detainees. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, denounced a 31% increase in child malnutrition in the northern Gaza Strip. The United Nations Children's Fund stated that children are suffering from malnutrition, which is reaching unprecedented levels due to the impact of war and the current restrictions on the humanitarian aid. According to UNICEF statistics, 4.5% of children in shelters and health centers are underweight for their height, putting their children at risk of medical complications and death. In this regard, data confirms that at least 23 children have died from malnutrition and severe dehydration in recent weeks. This figure is in addition to the more than 13,450 children killed by Israel in Gaza. In Ecuador, at least 15 municipalities located on the coast and in the highlands are in emergency conditions as a result of heavy rains associated with a climate phenomenon known as El Niño. The National Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology reported that in the next few days, moderate to high-intensity rains will affect the northern insular region, the inland coastal zone, and the foothills of the western mountain range. This will be a result of the rainfall occurred during the last weeks, which caused over 1,000 dangerous events in 23 out of the 24 provinces, leaving 6 people dead and 7 injured. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. Russia is holding its third and last day of presidential elections on Sunday. High turnout and no violence in the streets have marked the whole electoral process, contrary to the predictions of the Ukrainian government. At 6:45 local time, the Central Electoral Commission reported a turnout of 61.37%. It's estimated the polling stations will close at 8 p.m. local time, and immediately the votes will be counted. The Central Commission aims to deliver the results before March 28th, taking into account that the electoral districts will deliver results until March 19th and the federal subjects until March 21st. The most recent report of the committee instance also confirmed more than 12,600 potentially dangerous actions against its website in the last 24 hours. Elections in Russia are monitored by 1,115 international observers and experts from 129 countries. Ukraine continues its offensive against the right of Russian citizens to democratically elect their authorities. Several drones heading for Moscow were destroyed by Russian defenses on Sunday. Sergei Sobyanin, the mayor of Moscow, reported that one drone was destroyed in the Ramensky district, another one in Stupinsky, and a third one in Domodedovo. The new attempted attack was carried out early on Sunday and left no casualties or major damage. Several experts and some foreign media have questioned Kiev's strategy as far from frightening the voters. It was managed to increase the turnout. This Saturday, Ukrainian aggressions left several dead and wounded. Latin American observers highlight the process of presidential elections 2024 held in Russia. Representatives of Colombia's National Electoral Council consider that the innovations in the Russian voting system are useful for the development of the region's electoral system. On the other hand, the Latin American Council of Electoral Experts expressed that the ways of exercising the right to vote in Russia, both in person and electronically, simplify voter participation. In this regard, the Russian Central Electoral Commission confirmed that over 2.3 million people voted early in 42 regions of the difficult access. French President Emmanuel Macron said on Saturday that his country, as a nuclear power nation, is ready for any armed conflict with Russia. Macron's statements come after Russian President Vladimir Putin reiterated his position to deploy nuclear weapons in case his nation's integrity is threatened. It must be emphasized that the Russian leader has warned that presence of Western troops in Ukraine would involve the NATO military alliance in the Ukrainian conflict. Britain and France are the only nuclear powers in Europe, but even their collective power is a fraction of that employed by Russia, which possesses the largest and most varied collection of nuclear weapons in the world, by some margin even greater than that of Washington's vast arsenals. In an interview with a French news channel, President Macron called for an awakening in the concept of the Ukrainian conflict and called for the use of all available resources to achieve the West's objective against Russia.
But I say today, we've decided on this, and it's a change. We decided it in Paris. It's the start of a new awakening. Then, I tell you, we'll do what's necessary to achieve our goal.
Everything that was interconnected with our president was
in the conflict in Ukraine. Precisely, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov asserted that Macron's administration, in addition to being implied with the Kiev, seeks to further increase its involvement. In this way, the Russian authorities recalled that in February, France signed a bilateral security agreement with Ukraine for a period of 10 years, which includes the allocation of 3.3 billion euros in military aid to Kiev in 2024. On the other hand, Dmitry Peskov asserted that it is evident that Russia is an adversary for France and emphasized that President Macron's statements only increase the degree of his engagement. The Iraqi resistance has rejected a likely government decision of granting immunity to the U.S. forces that remain in the country. The head of security for Hezbollah argued U.S. troops have not changed their behavior, referring to the aggressions against targets of Iraqi resistance. They also denounced that the United States is trying to prolong its presence in the country, despite the fact that the Iraqi government has demanded its withdrawal. Washington has some 2,500 soldiers deployed, some in Iraq, under the pretext of fighting against the Daesh terrorist group. But given that the Iraqi government did proclaim the expulsion of the group from its territory in 2017, the demand for U.S. troops has become a national demand. The United Nations warns of worsening food crisis in Sudan in the coming month. The head of the Office of Humanitarian Operations, Martin Griffith, confirmed that close to 5 million people are in a situation of food emergency. The agency denounced the treatment received by the most vulnerable population in special need. Griffith detailed that they estimate that the city of Khartoum will be the most affected by the food shortage, aggravating the humanitarian crisis, which caused the displacement of 8 million civilians. He noted that the organization can only help less than 40% of those in urgent need of assistance and said that $400 million is needed for the regional response to stem the tide of hunger. Niger's ruling National Homeland Defense Council Board has broken the military accords with the United States, and U.S. troops will have to leave the country. The decision took place after a U.S. delegation headed by the Undersecretary of State for African Affairs, Molly Fee, visited the country. Although Washington remains silent, the Nigerian government spokesman Amadou Abdraman explained that the case violated the diplomatic protocol by not informing who was part of the mission, which in addition to Molly P. included the head of the United States Command in Africa, Michael Langley. The decision is effective immediately. Mexico celebrated International Sleep Day, better known as Massive Nap. The International Sleep Day was celebrated the Friday before the spring equinox, so the date changes year after year. This time, year 2024, it was last Friday, March 15th. It celebrated the revitalization that sleep provides for health and human welfare. Since its first celebration on March 14, 2008, it has fostered international exchanges and promoted knowledge about sleep, circadian rhythms, and sleep disorders on a global level. Studies have shown that sleeping more on weekends does not recover the lack of sleep during the week. But let's see how in Mexico they solve the problem with one of the most traditional practices in Spain and Latin America, the nap. In Egypt, a group of archaeologists unearthed the missing half of the extraordinary statue of Ramses II. The top half of Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II statue has been unearthed by archaeologists in southern Egypt at Ashmunain ancient site. The limestone fragment was found thanks to a collaboration between Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities and the University of Colorado. The statue represents the head, shoulders, and upper torso of King Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great. Work is underway to clean and prepare the statues for a possible joint exhibition. Famous for his military skills, he commanded over 15 victorious military campaigns that secured Egypt's dominance in the Levant and Nubia. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.
We are here